When I was a little boy, I was out here in the pasture and talking with my dad. And he said, son, what do you want to do for a living when you grow up? And I said, Dad, I want to ranch. I want to raise cattle. And he looked at me in all seriousness. He said, well, you better find a good job. Ginger Hill we've always been focused on raising practical cattle that could survive and thrive under grassland conditions. That's so important for our product. We produce an animal that needs to go out into commercial herds. And our cattle are known for going out in these commercial herds and being able to maintain their flesh and their capacity and do what they're supposed to do. I think the diversity within our industry and the differences between the way I do something and the way my neighbor does something or way my friends in North Dakota do something is actually a strength for the breed and for the cattle industry. Come on! Woo! Come on, girls. Go. Come on. Do grass. Well, I want to welcome you all on behalf of our entire family, the Miller and Keita family. Basically a world leader in the microbiome of the intestinal tract. And do you want me to collect it for you? Okay, all right.
They're making history.
So is that the first one you've ever collected?
Yes.
All right.
Actually.
We are making history here today. I mean, this is environmentally sustainable. This is good for the environment. Cows are not killing the environment. And when they come out here and they visit a rancher, develop a relationship, they see that he lives on this land, he loves this land, and he's definitely not going to do anything to defile this land.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kat Lindley, Independent Medicine Alliance Senior Fellow in Family Medicine. Hello and welcome to all of you who are watching online and streaming with us. We have an exciting evening with folks from Beef Initiative. So tonight we're going to have Texas Slim, who is the CEO of the Beef Initiative and president of I Am Texas Slim Foundation. Texas Slim is a visionary leader dedicated to restoring food integrity and decentralizing the beef supply chain. We also have Aris June, who is Chief Creative Strategist at the Beef Initiative. June leads strategy and partnership to expand the initiative's impact and serves as the executive producer of the Beef Maps docuseries. We also have one of my favorite researchers and writers, Breeauna Sagdal. Breeauna is a senior writer and research fellow at I Am Texas Slim Foundation. She specializes in agricultural policy, food sovereignty, and health freedom. She collaborates with legislators, ranchers, and experts to advance solutions to regenerative agriculture. And finally, Jeffrey Forrester, Director of Strategic Partnerships at the I Am Texas Slim Foundation. Jeffrey represents the Beef Initiative in public forums, conferences, and media, amplifying its mission. He also secures grants and funding to support the initiative's sustainability and growth. And for those of you who follow me on X, you know how much I love Beef Initiative and everything that they're doing. So we're going to start our conversation tonight with June. And thank you, gentlemen. And Breeauna is going to join us a little bit later, but thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kat, Dr. Kat. It is such a pleasure to be here. This is a huge opportunity for the Beef Initiative and for all of us in independent forms of society, culture, lifestyle, science, what have you. So we're here to talk about something that we're calling the sovereign health model. And it sounds like it might be a play on another kind of model that we know. It's called the One Health model. And tonight I would like to share a presentation with you guys. So I'll go ahead and share my screen now, if that's okay.
Please.
And how does that work?
There you go. We can see it now.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So, okay. So let's get into well, first of all, let's very quickly talk about the video we just watched. So that video was filmed and edited by myself in Texas Slim's pickup truck with a dented door. We traveled 13,000 miles in the summer and spring of 2023. We visited a lot of the ranches that now populate beefmaps.com, one of our platforms. We traveled from Texas to Virginia, back to Missouri, Arkansas, Northern California. I went back to Florida. And this entire time, we traveled on pretty much nothing but dirt roads. We did not take many major highway systems. And as a kid from Philly, I never really left the East Coast that much. And I had no idea that 30 minutes outside of every major highway system is cattle country. It was something that was stolen from my imagination. And I think it's been stolen. I think our shared agricultural heritage has been stolen from all of our imaginations. And what Texas Slim showed me on that trip was that truth and trust and self-reliance are still very much alive in America, despite all of the media and all of the propaganda that wants to say that we are against each other and all the things that come with all the woke stuff, right? And modern day kind of politics. So anyway, one of those stops on our trip was Ginger Hill Angus in Washington, Virginia. That's Dr. Brooke Miller. He is one of your fellows here. And he helped us host the Ginger Hill Angus Beef Intelligence Summit. We've had about 25 of these or so around the world. Texas Slim, of course, started it by himself, self-funding it, driving the philosophy, and really driving home the idea that the simplicity of shaking your rancher's hand is the solution that we are all yearning for. So at Ginger Hill Angus, Dr. Brooke Miller brought together, and Texas Slim, before the I Am Texas Slim Foundation was created, or rather before the I Am Texas Slim Foundation was given its rights from the federal government back in January. Texas Slim drove everyone to Ginger Hill. Dr. Brooke Miller hosted, and he brought together leaders of health and science and policy, and Dr. Sabine Hazen was one of those folks. And we saw in that video I filmed, she collected her first samples in her revolutionary work in the microbiome of the cow. So we'll get started from there. As the future of agriculture, medicine, and health sovereignty comes under increasing strain, the I Am Texas Slim Foundation and the Beef Initiative is leading the charge to create lasting partnerships between ranchers, scientists, and researchers. Our mission is simple yet vital: connect the wisdom of traditional ranching with cutting-edge science to uncover sustainable solutions for health, agriculture, and self-reliance. Today, we face a choice between two competing visions. We see here the One Health model. If we all don't know what that is, it's essentially the umbrella organization for the Gates Foundation and the World Health Organization. It encompasses a wide range of disciplines, and it brings them all together in a new kind of interdisciplinary science of biology and human health. It's environmental health, it's ecology, veterinary medicine, public health, human medicine, molecular and microbiology, and health economics. Right? There's a lot going on. The One Health model is a centralized top-down system that controls food, medicine, and scientific research through monopolized funding, regulatory capture, and industrial scale interventions. Our model, the sovereign health model, is a decentralized, independent framework that empowers local communities like Washington, Virginia, and Ginger Hill Angus, ranchers like Dr. Brooke Miller, and scientists like Dr. Sabine Hazen to take back control over food, health, and research through open source agriculture and self-sovereign science, thereby turning the ranch into a living laboratory, right? This is the collaboration that Bill Gates et al. Have created in the One Health model. The only difference is that they're funded by centralized funding mechanisms, of course, linked to all of the problems that we have today. Here's a nice shot of Dr. Brooke Miller and Dr. Sabine. The challenges. The decline of family farms. The U.S. farms have declined from 5.4 million in 1950 to 1.89 million in 2023. Over 141,000 farms have vanished between 2017 and 2022. The centralization forces ranchers into dependence on corporate agriculture and federal subsidies. In 67 years, we will lose the last family farm. 70% of the U.S. food supply is now ultra-processed. This drives obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic disease, and so much more. Industrial food production prioritizes efficiency over nutrition. The corporate control over agriculture and health. The top 4 beef processors control 85% of the beef in this country. Most of you all do not eat American beef. When you go to the grocery store and you pick up a pack of ground beef from Publix or Whole Foods or wherever, and you test that DNA, there's going to be 100 different cows in that 1 pound pack of ground beef. Your solution is the Beef Initiative and shaking your rancher's hand. Big pharma and agribusiness spends $33 billion annually to control research, public perception, and policy. And this monopolization ensures research serves corporate profits, not human health. Let's look at a couple slides here. At 40% of the market share, abuses are very likely. In all of these industries, the top 4 corporations control 60% or more. This is the beef industry and the hog industry. Research and development expenditures of the U.S. pharmaceutical industry reached $96 billion in 2023. U.S. healthcare and pharma digital ad spending was $24.7 billion. Family farmers, almost $0. We cannot even afford to buy $500 worth of ads. This is what we're up against. The guidelines of the USDA, the nutrition guidelines, have been captured. Nina Tickles' work with the Nutrition Coalition. If you haven't gone into it, it's fantastic. Nutritioncoalition.us. She's uncovered 700 plus conflicts of interest that were found on the committee. One advisor alone had 152 ties to pharmaceutical and big ag. Disgusting. Then we come to the 1940s and 50s. We're going to go back for a second here. Where does the One Health model come from? Well, we know that the One Health model is interdisciplinary. It's collaborations between so many different fields of interest. Well, this kind of collaboration started in the 1940s and 50s, World War II, the Cold War, paranoia. This is when the centralization of behavior and societal control happened. Big advertising, right? We'll look at who was involved with this in a second here. But this led to the One Health model, applying the same cybernetic control to biology. And just to tell you guys quickly, cybernetics is the using human behavior as a feedback mechanism to drive more of that behavior. That's where it all started, right? This led to centralized research and big money influence. Bill Gates, the World Health Organization, and Big Pharma now fund and control research. The inevitable outcome, I don't know if you guys watch the Super Bowl, but that's right. Hims and hers. This is an actual photo from the Cybernetics conference. So this is neurophysiologists, mathematicians, electrical engineers, neuropsychologists, anthropologists, you name it, right? They were all here. All of the greats were there. Kind of a scary picture, right? Cybernetic seance. The human use of human beings. Norbert Wiener was a famous cyberneticist from that time.
Obesity is America's deadliest epidemic. This is America. 74% of us are overweight, and obesity leads to 500,000 deaths each year. I just have to stop eating, Jimmy. This is America. Something's broken. It's not our body. It's the system. Welcome to weight loss in America, a $160 billion industry that leads on our failure. There are medications that work, but they're priced for profits, not patients. This is America. This system wasn't built to help us. It was built to keep us sick and stuck. But not anymore. Hims and Hers offers life-changing weight loss medications. They're affordable, doctor-trusted, and formulated in the USA. You get a treatment plan designed by a doctor to fit your body, goals, and lifestyle. You deserve to feel great in your body. This is the future of healthcare. This is Hims and Hers. Join us in the fight for a healthier America.
It's disturbing. And it's almost like they're using the same language that we are, right? The exact same language. All right. Now, let's move away from the dark stuff a little bit, right? We know what it is. Human beings are not biologically dependent on pharmaceutical products. It's the pharmaceutical companies that are financially dependent on human beings. Introducing the sovereign health model. This is what we're building. What we're building has many facets, but I think that we can sum up all the parts in just 4, especially for the purposes of our conversation here today. We're building a new health paradigm. Food is medicine, prevention over pharmaceutical dependency. Miller-Hazen. A new scientific standard, community-funded, peer-reviewed research. And this comes in the form, at first, this came in the form of an event that Texas Slim and the Beef Initiative hosted. Sabine would have never gone out to Virginia if we had not had that event. She wasn't going to pay for her plane ticket to go out there. People had to buy tickets. Half of all tickets we sell at the Beef Initiative, half of all beef sales come in the form of Bitcoin. So this is a new food model. This is peer-to-peer, and it's rancher direct. And the fourth facet of this that I just mentioned was the new monetary standard. We're not saying go 100% in all Bitcoin, everything, all the time. But we need to take it seriously as a model for decentralization. Because where does these pharmaceutical companies and where do these multinationals get all of their funding from, right? They get it from the government. Where's the government get all their money from? Well, they get it from the Federal Reserve. They hit that money printer button, right? Bitcoin is a way out of that. And so that's why we lean into it on that front. And just a little tale about Bitcoin and why it works for ranching. We have a guy, his name is Cole Bolton. He is our chief business officer here. And he is from K&C Cattle. He has owned a successful and sold a processing center that processed over 400 local ranchers' beeves. The Beef Initiative helped get them started. 30% of their customers came from us. He sold that processing center. Half of those customers bought their beef with Bitcoin. He held on to that Bitcoin. Bitcoin turned into more money. He bought more cows with it. Now, you try doing that off of a farm credit loan. Not going to happen. You try doing that off of a government subsidy. It's not going to happen. So, which path will you choose? We have two paths and two futures. We've got the One Health model, centralized control, synthetic food, pharmaceutical dependency. And we have sovereign health model, the model that we are all pioneering here. We're just giving it a name because we need a brand, right? It's the sovereign health model. It's decentralized research, it's independent ranchers, and it's self-sovereign health. And the Miller-Hazen model is not just an alternative, it's the blueprint that we need to replicate institutionally through the I Am Texas Slim Foundation. And we ask all of you to join us, please. If you drop your email at savebeef.org, it will lead you to a partnership questionnaire. It's only 2 minutes. The only required questions are your name and email. Don't turn away from it because of that. And if you fill that out, it'll lead you to a fundraiser page, which you can also access all of it on savebeef.org. And we ask you all right now to visit savebeef.org and drop your emails. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, okay, we love this foundation. We love this philosophy, this new model. But hey, guys, listen, ranchers, we're here to buy some clean beef. Okay. So, cut all the philosophy and cybernetics talk and just tell us where the beef is at. Okay. Welcome to beef.com. You'll also drop your email in there, and we will be in touch. We have lots of specials happening behind the scenes that don't make it to our main website and our main platforms. So with that is the conclusion of my presentation here. And I would like to pass it off to Breeauna, who is going to cover in a little bit more detail, or at least from the policy side of things, what this One Health model is, right? And how it plays out in policy and politics.
Thank you so much, June. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here and to introduce Texas Slim going into our next portion. I'm going to touch on some of the policies very quickly, address what we're working on at the I Am Texas Slim Foundation in terms of policy, what we've uncovered, and then I'm going to introduce our visionary head honcho here, Texas Slim. But I apologize, I'm not on camera tonight. I am in the process of actually heading to our state capital here in South Dakota to work on legislation. Very excited about it. We'll be announcing that here shortly. We've already had some great wins in the state of South Dakota. We've got some great wins coming up here in the state of Texas as well, creating some model legislation for everyone to use and implement in their own respective states as well. And so just touching off, I've seen a couple of questions coming up about RBSTs, which are recombinant bovine growth hormones and various additives, right? And that's the beautiful thing about being independent cattle ranchers. All of our cattle ranchers align with our concepts of self-reliance and regenerative ranching. And in that, none of our cattle ranchers use mRNA technology. We, not that it's approved yet for cattle, it is in pork. But even when it does come online for cattle, which we're anticipating it most likely will, none of our ranchers will be using that. They've already agreed. I apologize about that. None of our ranchers use additives like Bover, for example, or growth hormones. We practice what we preach, and that is, growing better cattle through better fed feed and using a holistic approach. Grazing, grass-fed beef, raising our cattle as close to nature as possible, as opposed to the One Health model. And that's really what I'm hoping to address here, which is this concept that essentially human beings are what is the word? Non-animal human, or they're non-human animals, and then they're human animals, essentially, under the One Health Initiative. And the One Health Initiative was adopted by the USDA and also our Health and Human Services many years ago. But in truth, it's been finalized and formally funded over the last 4 years. And it's this concept that we no longer need land in order to farm and ranch, that essentially we can go vertical, we can stack and pack animals and human beings into, tiny little homes, tiny little pens, and that we can just sort of supplement what nature provides with pharmaceutical products. And it's a very inverse concept, but most concerningly, it really centers around this sort of land grab concept of the Convention for Biological Diversity and the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, both of which are quite hostile to the United States sovereignty. But I think what's most concerning, for example, the Convention on Biological Diversity is a plan that we have seen since about 2004. It calls for a drastic reduction in U.S. farmlands and areas that humanity is allowed to access, essentially. And that is chaired by China, for example, and hosted by Canada. Canada and China are two of our largest agricultural landowners, Canada being the number one foreign owner of U.S. ag lands. China has or owns about 1% of our total ag lands. But, nonetheless, this is very concerning, especially as it was adopted during the Biden administration under what was called the Federal Plan for Equitable Long-Term Recovery and Resilience. This is a concept that, due to climate change, we will see an increase in viruses and diseases and So we just need to centralize more control to the federal government in terms of policy and authority. And then we just need to consolidate, more of the population into these resilient, quote unquote, resilient cities. The problem with this is that every time we consolidate our herds, just like when we consolidate human with, higher rates of infection, right? Viruses spread more quickly in densely populated areas. So it's really antithetical even to the stated goals of the One Health agenda. But again, like June was saying, it's really this concept that we can find health in a pill or a shot or some sort of chemical additive. And really what it does is it enriches the few while making the rest very ill. So, our concept, our parallel economy within the beef initiative is really to focus on providing alternative options and solutions. First, through our beef maps, right, which is this comprehensive list of ranchers across the country that are excited to sell directly to consumers that want to provide a better quality of food and meat, because being good land stewards and about raising the best quality possible. And frankly, that has really been de-incentivized under recent USDA rule changes. And in fact, on the policy side, we're very hopeful about Secretary of Agriculture recently used his administrative authority to alter some pretty significant antitrust laws that have been on the books for the last 103 years. But essentially, there's a rule change that is in the finalization process that would turn the Packers and Stockyard Act, essentially the number one antitrust law within the agricultural industry. It would turn that into a consumer protection law that would essentially create something of a quota system, as opposed to prioritizing the best practices and best quality of meat available, and unfortunately really incentivizes imports. And as June pointed out, we're already an import-dependent nation. And the concern there is that our global supply chain is quite volatile. For example, just 2 weeks ago, the USDA put an embargo on imports from Mexico because of New World screwworm, for example. Not long ago, we had an embargo on Paraguay that was recently lifted. A regional vaccine for hoof and mouth that was contaminated. They ended up with a very severe outbreak. And so we had an embargo on Paraguay, and they're not yet hoof and mouth disease free, yet we've lifted that embargo. Point being here, our supply chain is exceptionally volatile. And really, it's at the point now where our our food security is a national security issue. So our goal is to work with not only state lawmakers, but also the incoming Trump administration Secretary of Agriculture, to incentivize growth on the domestic side. We are really working to increase our cattle volumes, and not just quantity, but also quality. We want to first and foremost secure your guys' right as consumers to access quality meat, to know your cow, to shake your rancher's hand, and to really take control of your own food security. That's everything that we advocate for. And so we're working towards policies that will help to enable that consumer direct pipeline with ease. So if anyone has any questions for me in terms of policy, I would be happy to answer that, Dr. Kat. Otherwise, I'm excited to introduce Texas Slim.
Hey, Nat. Good to see you. Thanks, Breeauna. June, good to be here again. We've done this a couple of times. It's been a long journey, but I like to kind of talk in visualizations of what I've seen over the years, kind of where I come from. Coming from the Texas Panhandle, I like to say I come from the dirt roads of West Texas. Well, we drive a lot of dirt roads. We see a lot of livestock. We look at the sky a lot, and we're around agriculture, a lot of it. But throughout my lifetime, I've seen agricultural change. And, within that change happened when I was pretty young, and I had to leave this small town of Texas, which was the powerhouse's cattle country. And I had to go and find a life that, I didn't think I was going to have to find. But became a research analyst out of Austin, and I had a good career there. And it's been about 25 years. But everything that I've ever really facilitated in this life has been based on, what we experienced, what my grandfather pioneered, and observational science of how our food has changed, how our health has changed as a nation, how our agricultural has changed, our water tables, our soil. And so within my lifetime, I saw massive change starting to happen back in 18 and 19. And so I hit the road, and I've been on the road for many years now. But if you look from the perspective of driving across America and realizing that we're under attack in many ways that our industries and our consumers don't see because they don't get in these dirt roads and these back roads and a lot where agricultural happens. But like what June said, you can leave any city and be in cattle country. And so, throughout the last 50 years, our food has changed, our health has changed, our commodity systems have changed, our money changed. We got off the gold standard. And so in 2020, I decided to embed myself in a harvest company because I needed to see what the industry looked like from within. I'd been doing research after the Monsanto Bayer consolidation back in 2017. I'd also saw a consolidation in media. So I wanted to get boots on the ground, and I started with a slogan called Food Intelligence because I think we've forgotten what food is about. What I wasn't planning on was realizing and seeing that America had become a food desert. And I noticed that most small towns now have a Dollar General. Basically, they might have access to a Walmart, and they have a convenience store. And if you drive across America and you get off the interstates, you see this quite easily and often. And so whenever we got up to North Dakota to do harvest, it started unfolding that the boys that I was working with in my 50s, and they were young, some of them teenagers, some of them 20s, some of them 30s, that we had a major shift in our health, and then basically understanding what agriculture used to be, and the basically the multinational system that does not allow us to feed our children anymore. And so you can go through these big agricultural regions of the country, and it's some of the most unhealthy people now because they do not have market access. And so what does that mean? It means that, we're eating ultra processed food. Some of the best corn-fed healthy boys that we used to brag about are now the unhealthiest. Because if you look at the inner cities and the destruction of nutrition and health in the inner cities, that has now hit small town America. And what we lost is market access to our natural resources and our natural resources of nutrition. And so where I came from, the state of Texas, we had 254 counties. Well, we used to have 254 micro processing centers that serviced all these small towns in Texas, regionally based, county based, where we actually had access to our local livestock. It's as simple as that. It's not always been that grand of a picture, but we had more leverage, and we've had a slow consolidation and centralization in our packers, in our processing industries. And as June says, and it's in our presentation tonight, 85% of our, livestock in the United States of America is controlled by 4 multinational corporations that are not housed in America. That's alarming. Dr. Brooke Miller brought up, he said, our national security now is under a threat because we don't have access to our cattle. And, if you look at the numbers and you see what I've seen on the ground within our health, health of our children, health of our parents, health of our soil, health of our water tables, the health, the lack of our money, inflation, and you're seeing a massive consolidation and centralization. You're seeing asset reallocation, but you're also seeing a shift in our health to where, when I went on harvest, they're still tough boys, but they don't eat food. They eat Pop-Tarts. They eat anything that's convenient. And, I went out there, I was outside of Mont, North Dakota, and I was able to find a rancher, USDA certified, and this is still COVID going on, and they'd almost been shut down by COVID. And so I started feeding the crew, and the spirits changed. And it really made me start really looking at food intelligence of why are they attacking the cow? And I knew it because it's basically the most nutritional animal on the planet that we all can have access to. And it's not a debate about being a carnivore, vegan, vegetarian. You have to have cattle to have a proper food system in your communities and in your country. And so if you look at being able to establish market access, that is a form of community building, and you look at farmers markets and where we've come from, we've turned farmers markets into arts and craft shows. We don't have the right competition. We've subsidized our industry and pitted our producers against each other in monetary means, brand identity means, technology use agreements. And so you can correlate the loss of our access, market access as producers and consumers, to basically the lack of our health now, the health crisis that we are in, and the dependency on multinational systems that are foreign countries that are now basically they are seriously considering a one world food group, just like the one World Health initiative. So if you look at what has transpired, and if you leave your city and you drive 30 to 50 miles, you're going to see the same thing. And so it's daunting, it's scary. But one thing it's a market gap that now the Beef Initiative and the SaveBeef.org campaign can really move forward with, because we have a nation waking up. That they are now seeing what I've been trying to visualize in a lot of people's minds, from the health, industries to the commodity commercial cattle industry, all of livestock is under attack, from pork to poultry, and how they're shutting everything down. So if it's time for a nation to kind of take a pause and let's use some observational science and realize that we don't have to validate the deceptions anymore. And that's what we've been able to prove within the Beef Initiative and the pioneering founders that have come into this. Everybody that's in the initiative has this insight that we are now the solution, that the whole nation's not going to come streaming into us, but we're here to basically allow people to have market access to health and the cleanest beef in the nation. And that's building communities. We're going to bring, and we have brought liquidity back to communities across the United States. And right now with this health initiative, I first started and I said, this is the Great American Health Initiative being led by the Great American Rancher. And now that we're working with, all these fine doctors, nutrition experts, I think there's a good consolidation that everybody can visualize what I saw on harvest. Our commodity grains. I went on wheat harvest, and most of our harvest was canola, which is rapeseed. And I asked these people, I said, what's up in the seasons? How are you planting? How are you, mapping out your seasons of harvest? And you find out within the multinational system of monocropping, you're going to have somebody that plants the seed, somebody that sprays the seed, somebody that fertilizes the seed, somebody that harvests the seed, somebody that comes and takes the seed, and somebody that ships the seed. And none of that seed stays in that local community. Nobody really knows where it's going. It's a manipulation of the market's a commodity. It's a world market now within our food. And so it's daunting, yes. But one thing that we do know is that we can have a wonderful experience, a lifestyle exchange with other people that are like-minded, in that we can start saving our family farms, we can rebuild our soil, our health, we can re-educate our children, we can actually get children back into livestock and agriculture. And, that's why we've created the I Am Texas Slim Foundation, the Beef Initiative, Beef Maps. We've created a lot of autonomous networks that are now coming together, and that is, of course, the SaveBeef.org campaign. We have some amazing opportunities in front of us right now. We've never really marketed or advertised it. I liquidated my life, and I've been on the road for 5 years. It's 300,000 miles right now. I've been around the globe 1.5 times. I've been across Australia, Asia. We've got connections in Europe, of course, Africa now. And this is a one world movement towards creating a one world food group. By saying that, there's a lot of countries coming up. There's a lot of basically independent minded, agricultural minded people across this world that want to know what the Beef Initiative is doing. They want to take our protocols, our new input systems, regenerative input systems, like our partner Better Fed Foods. And so if you look at the partnerships that we've created, there's a consolidation collaboration that's going after this industry so we can actually reset the playing field, bring liquidity to our producers, and give consumers a chance to change the consumer demand that they're looking to do right now in the United States. As I say, divorce the supermarket, go shake a rancher's hand, basically quit validating the deceptions and perform a new form of food intelligence within your community, within yourself first. And then what you can do is you can have a lifestyle that is now empowering, and we're taking back market access to our health, our lands, our children, and because our children are under attack. We all know this. And us responsible adults have to man up. And I heard Jordan Peterson say the other day, he said, great nations fall because strong men refuse to use their voice. Well, I'm about to have a voice again, and I want everybody to come along because we have solutions. And if you just look at one simple phrase, savebeef.org, and, get off the internet, go shake a rancher's hand, go look at this country from a different perspective. We're coming into a digital world that's never been privy to agriculture, independent, sovereign, and we've built new systems that give peer-to-peer access with money, with consumer demand, and actually, we can create media. We always say we're the real Yellowstone. So let's get some cowboy spirit. Let's savebeef.org, and I'll probably hand it back over to Breeauna. I think right now she's going to take some questions, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Nat.
Awesome. Thank you, Texas Slim. And Jeff, I know you're joining us for this part. I have lots of questions from people. They were sent to my phone. But before I go to their questions, let's talk about the labeling of the meat at the store, because I think that cannot be stressed enough. And I heard you guys talk about this in Spaces. What does it mean when I see a label and I'm buying meat at Costco or HEB and it says USDA, whatever it says, inspected and stuff? Does that mean that my meat comes from United States, that is coming from a rancher in Texas or Montana? What does it mean, guys?
Good question.
That's a
yeah.
You
want to take that? Well, I'll start it. You wrap it up because we both got something to say here. But if you look at labeling, the deception thereof, we go through all kinds of battling of labeling. And we have, the battle of organic and what's not organic, grass-fed, grass-finished. The only thing you really need to really be aware of right now is country of origin labeling. And, we don't do that now. We're fighting to get it. We have a plan that's going in. It's voluntarily. But if you don't have basically on your meat where it's coming from, then you're not going to know where it's coming from and what's in it, because there's so many different rules and regulations. And if we're eating 80% of our beef is coming from foreign countries, they don't have to follow the same regulations that, our labeling laws in the United States does. And so, a lot of people don't understand that, grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, there's a lot of good ranchers, producers that follow the protocols of there, but there's a lot of corruption and deception. And so if you don't know where your beef is coming from, you can guarantee that 80% of the beef that we're consuming in the United States is coming from foreign countries. And the lack of labeling or the deceptions there on the labeling, if you haven't done your market research of what you need to be looking at, it's the best thing. That's how I came up with the phrase, go shake your rancher's hand. And they will educate, they will basically tell you, and they will allow you to become your own research analyst. And that's what we need. And so I'll hand it off to the best research analyst in the industry, to Breeauna. You can follow up there, Breeauna.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we had a mandatory country of origin labeling law that was repealed in 2016. Over the last 4 years, we've really seen a decline in transparent labeling from the FSIS, which is the Food Safety Inspection Service. 2 points I'll just make really quickly. So we do have a country of origin labeling law. However, there's a caveat, which is anything that is substantially altered in the United States is allowed to be stamped as USDA certified and product of the United States. So anything that comes in from out of country, whether it's frozen or it's fresh, and it's substantially altered in the United States, is then stamped as a product of the United States. So the problem is we really just don't know what is in that package at the grocery store, especially as we have in the United States just 5 major processing facilities that are processing 95% of our entire meat supply here domestically. And so what that looks like, right, what that translates to in terms of cattle is about 5,400 head per day. And you might have, like June was saying, you might have a package of hamburger, 1 pound of hamburger that has, the genetics of 30 to 100 different cows in there, because like I said, they're processing 5,400 cattle per day in each one of these respective facilities. In terms of hogs, they're doing about 1,200 head per hour at each one of these facilities. And this is the problem with the consolidation of our food supply. Just another quick point in terms of FSIS and really the sort of lackadaisical transparency that we've seen in the last 4 years. FSIS was supposed to come up with a finalized rule for how to label lab cultivated meat. And they were supposed to have this done in 2021, except for the fact that Upside Foods and Good Meats, in addition to Cargill, JBS, Smithfield, all the big players, essentially threatens the Food Safety Inspection Service and said that requiring them to label lab cultivated meat separate of any other type of meat product would be a violation of their First Amendment, and it would, quote, hamper innovation and, quote, harm the livestock industry, end quote. So we have some real problems within our regulatory apparatus in terms of transparency and really regulatory burden that applies equally across the board. We're really seeing favoritism and a form of selectionism and protectionism that prioritizes the largest corporations over independent mom and pop cattle, or not just cattle, but ranchers across the board.
Thank you, Breeauna. So there's lots of questions about specifically your ranchers, the ones that are on your website. First of all, how does someone become a rancher that you guys allow to be part of this beef initiative?
That's easy. You go right up to your browser, you type in beef.support, and you drop your email in. We're all about getting emails dropped. It's the easiest way for us to communicate with people. Ranch Mama Shannon from Ebersole Cattle Company, who is our liaison, I guess you could say, between the ranchers and all of us and our systems. She is also pioneering, along with Buffalo Ron, the new buffmaps.com. So we'll have Buffalo on there here soon enough. But if you're a rancher and you'd like to get involved with the beef initiative, the simplest thing to do would be go to your address bar, type in beef.support. That's a URL. It's a little bit different, but drop your email in and we'll be in touch very, very soon. You can also reach out to me directly, June at beefinitiative.com. And if you're on X, give us a follow. It's Beef Initiative. Let us know you're out there. We'll put you in touch with Ranch Mama. She truly is the Ranch Mama. This is a movement made up of ranchers. I am the only guy here that did not come from agriculture. I don't know how I ended up here. Blame that guy, Texas Slim. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Beef.support or hit us up on X, Beef Initiative.
Great. And the follow-up question is, talk about the vaccines that are in the beef products that your rangers have. So do your ranchers use vaccines? And the question is specific to, do they use vaccines, and do they use mRNA vaccines? What are some of the concerns there?
Yeah,
So,
so I can take this one, June, if you want.
yep.
Okay. Yeah, so this is part of our onboarding process, and one of the questions that we ask is to rule out any ranchers that would use mRNA technology, or the mRNA. It's really a platform. It's the mRNA platform, and right now it's specific to hogs. It's approved for hogs through Sequivity, which is Merck Animal Health. And I won't bore you with the details of how the whole thing works, but essentially, it is becoming more ubiquitous across the hog industry, and we're starting to see the result of that in the meat supply in our grocery stores, and it's not pretty. I don't know. I've seen some pretty concerning things lately. Anyways, so in terms of the cattle industry, we do not have an mRNA approved vaccine in the cattle industry. However, if it were to become approved, all of our ranchers have explicitly said that they will not use it. In addition to that, most of our ranchers are, I'm not going to say anti-vaccine, but most of our ranchers try and steer clear of having to give. I haven't vaccinated my herd ever. I have cows that I've raised as bottle fed calves. We do a worming regimen, and other than that, our cows are out on fresh grass year round, fresh hay when the ground is frozen, and they're on a better. I mean, we've really focused on better inputs, and our cows don't get sick. They just don't. They don't. We prioritize in our program better genetics. We prioritize, good quarantine practices if someone should get sick for some reason, which we have. Like I said, we haven't had one, but there is wisdom and there's very solid evidence for reintroducing any animal that has become immune to whatever it is you're dealing with back into the herd. And so our ranchers prioritize these natural practices as opposed to, mass vaccinations or additives of any sort. I'm not going to say that our ranchers don't, give regular traditional type of vaccines, but mainly those vaccines do not transfer to humans from any of the evidence that we've seen. So the main concern is the mRNA. And from what we understand from the veterinarians that we've spoken with, that mRNA technology has the potential to transfer during essentially handling. So if you're handling raw meat, that mRNA technology could potentially get into your body or your system. And if you don't cook it, well enough, for example. So, hopefully that answers your question. June, if you have anything to add on to that.
I was just really going to say we get this question all the time, of course, as we're sure you know. And I think the easiest response, the simplest response to that is go to beefmaps.com, click on a marker, visit their website. We are not middlemen trying to make $1 off of every steak because these ranchers are not surviving, right? We're just linking you to your home computer to your rancher's home computer. It's so simple. And what you do once you click on that link is ask them yourself. Visit their website. They're going to have a lot of information there. And the best way to get to know your rancher and whether or not they vaccinate or whatever their input protocols are is to just ask them with humbleness and sincerity. Don't try to challenge them and you know more than they do. And guys, this is a serious problem. Rancher suicides, farmer suicides have skyrocketed. We have 67 years left until we lose the last family farm. Do you really want one of your last interactions to be, are y'all grass fed? Right? There's a lot of ways that we can raise a cow, and a lot of them are right. Some of them are wrong. A couple of them are wrong, and those are the ones that dominate, right? But a great majority of the way that people raise cattle Come on, we're humans. We've been doing this for thousands of years. There's a lot of different input protocols. I've seen a cow literally eat a cactus. So there you go.
Thank you, June. So there were lots of questions about ordering from farmers and stuff, and I just want to give my testimony. I actually did it myself several times, and it's really easy. I chose who I wanted to be my rancher. I actually chose Texas Slim the first time around, and it was delivered to my home. The meat was absolutely amazing. The prices were great, and it was really convenient. So I know there were lots of questions about that. I do want to bring up that Montana has a bill called HB 418 that's going to be heard February 20th, and it's about banning mRNA gene-based vaccine in animals in the state of Montana. And I know Brooke Miller, who is part of Beef Initiative, also fellow of the IMA, is one of the doctors helping with this initiative. And Breeauna recently testified in, I believe, South Dakota on a bill that had to do with synthetic meat and synthetic protein. So I know you guys are doing some amazing work all over the United States, specifically not to allow the mRNA platform in the beef industry. And like you said, it's prevalent in pork, but in beef, I believe they're starting to do some trials. So it's not out there yet, but they are trying to do it. So it's really important the work that you guys are doing. So we are towards the end because we had a lot to talk about. But one thing I want you, Texas Slim, and maybe Jeff, you as well, touch a little bit on this bird flu scare from your perspective. I know we discussed it actually last week at VSRF, and but what are you guys seeing with the rangers? And I know like we have spoken a little bit about the testing they're using and the fact they're using PCR again, and essentially you can find things positive if you really go after it. But I think one thing that most people will agree with is what they do when they find it. It's not really something that we should be doing because they're culling lots of poultry. But what's happening on the beef side?
I'll start off and kind of hand it off to Jeff. That's how we were going to do it in the first place. I talked with a lot of ranchers. We have a lot of independents. You have a lot of, different type of ways that, you do your cattle. As far as, the bird flu, we've seen this stuff before. We watch it very closely. I think there's a lot in the media right now about, how it's being facilitated and, all the stories out there. There's the mallard duck now and how it's transmitting into dairy cattle. And, they're trying to force a narrative here. And if you see what they did in COVID, they're not having much luck on our side as producers. Justin Trammell was the first rancher that I shook hands with, back here in my hometown. And he's a very proponent. He's in Austin, Texas right now doing legislation. So we got to give us, credit there because we have all this policy work, but we're doing it in Texas too. But what we see is, we're independent and sovereign, and we don't put up with deceptions as much as the media likes to let on to. I'm not that nervous. I haven't heard anybody be that nervous about it, but it's never going to stop. Let's be honest about this. If it's bird flu now, they're going to come at us in any which way. I mean, they do it with vaccinations. Look, think about, the pharmaceutical industries. We have humans, we have livestock. You think they're going to waste any time doing the same protocols as they do on humans as they do in livestock? And then the way that we house, livestock is how they're trying to house humans in these, smart cities and the consolidation, and get everybody off the land. And so what we need to do is work together, communicate with your producers. That's the best thing that you can do. If you really go out there and shake a rancher's hand and through digital, shaking the hand through beef naps, think about this. Think about the relationship that you can build. Maybe you're somebody that needs, community, projects that a rancher could help. You find so much food intelligence, beef intelligence, and health intelligence just establishing one relationship with somebody that's in agriculture right now. That is your biggest weapon to be educated and to be informed. It's very empowering for both sides. And so, I can generalize about what's going on with bird flu, but the best thing to do is really, make it a community-based fact-finding mission. And that spreads out. That creates nodes of conversation. And that's the best way to do this, because this is what we're doing. We're inverting a system of communications and basically research, reconnaissance. Everybody can be involved with this. I'm one man that started, and every person that's listening to this can follow the same protocols that all of our leaders are now, talking about tonight. So we're here to help. We're here to serve. We're here to educate. We're not here to parrot all the fear porn on the internet. So that's a long answer, but I would love to hand it off to Jeff Forster. He's been with us recently, and he's a hell of a community leader. He has a lot of worldly experience, and so I'm very proud to announce Jeff Forster. Thanks, Jeff.
Texas Slim, thank you very much. So, Dr. Cat, I think you were asking about bird flu and the way bird flu is affecting what's going on in our agricultural centers. And I think as we look at things, I think Breeauna pointed out, we've forced agriculture into smaller blocks. We've got more concentrated animals in areas that are smaller. So you've got more herds of cattle crammed into small buildings. You've got the chicken coops now are small and they're overpopulated. So just like during COVID, when Texas Slim was talking about, when one person gets sick or when one animal gets sick, it can spread through a herd or spread through a flock very quickly. I think one of the answers to this, though, is prevalent throughout our entire discussion, and that is buy local. For years in the food industry, we've used the term from farm to fork. Well, it's hard to say from farm to fork when 85% of the products are coming from outside of our country. That's from whose farm and to whose fork. So I think one thing that we should really pay attention to is how we can become our own advocate, not only for healthcare, but for quality beef products. And one way to do that is join us and become a partner with us at savebeef.org. Like June said earlier, it's about a 2-minute little fill in the blank questionnaire. Drop your name, drop your email. Get in touch with us, ask questions, get educated, find ranchers near you, find sources near you so that you can come up with your own solutions. Nutrition is what fuels our body. Our bodies are a health machine. It is what you put in is what you get out. And we know that through the feeding of animals. Human beings are the exact same. So if we give quality feed to the animals and our ranchers are feeding their animals with quality feed, you're going to get a quality product. Quality product consumed means quality health. So again, I can't ask enough for folks to go to savebeef.org. And then I've seen a few of the questions roll through. Where do I buy beef? Where do I get the beef? You can get the beef at welcometobeef.org. I know we've got some international folks that have joined us this evening. We're on a mission not only to do this in the United States, but to carry this outside the borders of the United States and ensure that we are helping to save lives around the world, not just here in our own country. So, Dr. Cat, it's been great being with you this evening, and I can't thank you enough for the time you've given me. Texas Slim, June, Breeauna, thank you so much for everything you've had to say, and thank you folks for the questions. They were awesome.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. But before you go, I do have one last question. Autumn is going to be mad at me, but I love this story, Texas Slim. Your foundation, I read this story a few months ago. You donated or you awarded, I don't know, money to a young lady in Florida because she wanted to take care of I'm not very good with these terms, but you carry the story because I'm here in Texas as well, in a small town, and FFA is big here. I remember going to my first auction, and I was afraid to raise my paddle because it was going so fast, but I did buy one of the pigs from one of the kids, and it was a great experience to see how hard these kids work. So share the story really quick because I think it's important to tell story about a young girl that wanted to be a rancher.
Yeah, it's Emily, and she's in small town Florida, and she's never been in agriculture or anything, and she's in FFA. And most of kids in small town, America have a chance to do FFA, 4-H, and everything. Cole Bolton, he used to be an officer at FFA, still is. Natalie Meeks of Cattle Mafia, we've teamed up, and she's an educator within FFA. Emily, basically, she needed to raise funds for her second steer, and she started with the heifer, I believe, but she was being very ambitious and she was being very intentional. And so she got on the internet. She started searching for somebody that she could call up and say, "Hey, I'm here in Florida. My name's Emily, and I'm raising this money. It's my project," is what she called it. She did a Google search and she found, I don't know how she did it, but she found the Beef Initiative and she found my email. And sure enough, she wrote me about a 4-page paragraph or a 4-page basically summary of what she was doing. And so within, 30 minutes, I was talking to Emily on the phone and I was just like, "Tell me your story, Emily. Let me hear your story about who you are. Where do you live? What do your parents think about what you're doing?" And so we had a great introduction to a young girl that is extremely valuable to the next generation of ranchers. She's this first generational mindset. She's not jaded with how bad things are. And I think she's now on her 4th or 5th. She visited us to Nashville. She brought her parents, or her father came. They helped us pull off the Cattleman's Feast that we did at the Bitcoin conference this year. And so, we have all these people starting to reach out. So the foundation is there to mirror everything that I knew growing up, but not in such a centralized association way, but truly peer-to-peer, that we can help families, communities. And now Emily gets this grant that we've given her. Well, it's going to be in her name forever. And every year we're going to give a grant in Emily's name of a first generational, anybody that's doing livestock through FFA, they have a chance at this. And Emily gets to write, the curriculum. We got her some inputs. And so she's becoming an educator now. And it's a great relationship that we formed.
I love that because a lot of kids here, especially in my town, they actually get great scholarships to universities
Yes.
to get their degrees in agriculture or different things. So it's wonderful to see that story. And last one, Autumn, I promise. Someone asked, how do they donate to your foundation? And I want you to plug that in for those who want to donate, and then we'll go to Autumn.
And I'll take this if you don't mind, gentlemen.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, if you'd like to join us and partner with us in a monetary way, again, please visit savebeef.org. And there are 2 prompts there where you can make your donation through standard currency, or you can make your donation through Bitcoin. So if you'll do that, fill out the form. We would love to get in touch with you, speak with you if you have questions. That's what we're here to facilitate. So please, and again, if you'd like to join us and partner with us, savebeef.org. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Breeauna, and thank you, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. I'm sure we're going to do this again.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kat, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Appreciate y'all. I like to say yeehaw. You guys, let's get this new cattle drive going. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Well, that was an awesome show. I will quickly move on to our closing announcements just because we are short on time. Okay, so in case you haven't heard the exciting news, early bird tickets for our conference in Atlanta, Georgia on April 4th through 6th are now available. While we're still finalizing our speaker lineup and narrowing down a tentative agenda, you can secure your tickets today by visiting our website. The link is on screen. This week, we are excited to be formally announcing 9 new senior fellows who have officially joined the Independent Medical Alliance. They bring a range of specialties, and we are thrilled to have them all on board. A new guide that we are excited to share with you all by Dr. Christina Carmen, an IMA Senior Fellow. She has created a comprehensive guide to help you make informed choices about your baby's formula for optimal growth and health. Whether you're seeking organic ingredients or a hypoallergenic formula or clean label options free from corn syrup, this guide has you covered. As always, it's important to consult your pediatrician or a trusted healthcare provider before making any dietary changes for your little one. If you are interested in this handbook, you can find it on our website or by visiting the link on screen. Lastly, we hope that you will join us next week as Dr. Paul Merrick, Dr. Joseph Farone, and Dr. Chris Martinson make an exciting IMA announcement and explore the question, is the science ever truly settled, and much, much more. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's show, and we will be closing with a My Story from Corey Bignell. Good night.
My name is Corey Bignell. I am a former Canadian nurse of 15 years. In 2021, I made a very difficult decision to not take the COVID-19 vaccine that was mandated in my hospital in Kitchener, Ontario. I was a single mom and I had two children, and not taking the vaccine meant that I had no financial income because I was losing my job. And so Grand River Hospital placed me on unpaid leave October 12th of 2021. And I made the decision to sell my home. It was my forever home, my grandma's home. And it was a very difficult decision because I thought I was going to live there for the rest of my life. And I left Canada on November 23rd, 2021 with my son, who was 13 at the time. My daughter was 30, so she stayed with her boyfriend. And we traveled to Nicaragua, and this is where I am now. And one of the stories I always like to tell when I'm on a podcast is in 2020, there was no mask mandates until July 2020. But every lunch hour, I would walk down to Starbucks, and I was a frontline hero for that whole time. Frontline hero. I'd wear my scrubs, and Starbucks staff would call me a hero. The mask mandates came in at midnight. I think it was July 20th or something. And the day before, I had went to the Starbucks with no mask on. The next day, the mandates were implemented at midnight. I went into the same Starbucks with the same staff, and they actually yelled at me. They said I couldn't come in without a mask. And that was kind of an aha moment for me. It wasn't that she was mad at me. She was listening to the TV telling her that anyone that comes into your establishment without a mask on is actually a villain, and they're unsafe, and they're going to kill your grandmother. I have quite a large following on Instagram, and there are almost daily, many of my followers reach out to me with either vaccine injuries with themselves or family members. And so the FLCC, I believe in their protocol. And so I am almost sending that out daily to people. It's my go-to link. I think that protocol is perfect.